Hello, thanks for viewing. This video is about how semen retention has basically led me back to veganism and a vegan lifestyle. And I cover a variety of other topics in this video, but this video is mainly about semen retention and veganism. So to begin, I would like to apologize for not making daily vlogs like I said I would in some of my previous videos. I've kind of just been feeling a little bit under the weather. So yeah, I'm sorry I haven't made any previous videos over the past week. Also, I'd like to apologize for the wound on my face, on my chin. I have a tooth infection, and that's kind of part of the reason that I've been eating more fruit and also been eating more vegan to try to heal my body, but I'll talk more about that later. Um, Also, the scar on my face right here, I kind of wanted to tell the story about that. Basically, I had a dog named Kobe, and she was getting attacked by a pit bull, and I got in the middle of the fight to break up the fight, and the pit bull's paw basically tore my whole face open right here. And something I've kind of been proud of because my grandfather, who's passed away recently, he said that's a sign of character when you have a scar on your face. So I'm pretty proud of that, and I just wanted to share that little story with you guys. Um, so I started eating more fruit, basically because I thought I was deficient in vitamin C, and I feel like there's probably quite a few people out there that are deficient in vitamin C. The signs are basically fatigue and depression. In all reality, I've always followed bodybuilding throughout like pretty much the majority of my life, and I'm starting to, as of late, basically feel that vitamin C is more important than protein intake. I know that sounds crazy, but if you consider gorillas, the size of gorillas, and how closely related they are to humans as far as genetics and DNA, they consume a massive amount of fruit and leaves and a small amount of insect larvae. They don't really consume much meat at all, so um, that's one reason that I've been really consuming a lot of fruit is because of the importance I feel of vitamin C that's overlooked by many people in the medical establishment. Basically, vitamin C is used throughout your whole body. It's used by the brain immensely. It's used by the bones, the muscles, the skin. Basically, I'm trying to remodel my skin with additional vitamin C via mangoes. I've also been having strawberries and oranges. I'm just trying to rebuild the collagen in my skin, basically, so I'll feel more attractive and I'll just feel better about myself overall. I also have a theory that once you build your collagen up, it's easier to put on muscle mass. You'll have stronger bones, and another reason is I just want to be more intelligent overall. And I feel vitamin C will build up the brain to become more intelligent. So when I think about gorillas, I think about back to this video I saw on YouTube, and you can probably search for this, but it's a monkey doing a memory test, and basically the computer flashes a series of numbers like 1 through 9 on a computer screen. You might have seen this, and the uh, the monkey just quickly goes like this because they have like photographic memories. So it makes me feel like the gorilla is perhaps more intelligent than a human being. I mean, the gorilla or the monkey definitely performs better than the human in this video that I'm referencing. So that's another reason I've been doing veganism, and probably the most profound reason I've been doing vitamin C. So what else did I want to talk about? Vitamin C and scurvy. So as I researched vitamin C, and the reason I started researching vitamin C has to do with semen retention. Basically, when you release semen, you release obviously vitamins and minerals, and the most predominant vitamins and minerals that I noticed when I was researching this was obviously zinc and vitamin C and perhaps calcium and protein. But by far the highest concentration I believe is vitamin C as a percentage of semen weight. So this led me to focus on vitamin C, and then I found out about scurvy. So basically, scurvy is a disease that humans encounter when they don't get enough vitamin C. And vitamin C's, unlike some animals, are unable to process or make their own vitamin C, so they have to get it from their diet. And the research that I did basically was that what I found really interesting is in the past when, for example, sailors would go on long voyages and they wouldn't have enough vitamin C with them, they would encounter the disease scurvy and some would die. So basically, if you don't get enough vitamin C, you could possibly die. This obviously takes place over many months, but it's still something to consider. You need vitamin C to stay alive. And if you consider the average diet of an American, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, there's very little fruit and very little vitamin C. So I find that really interesting. I almost think that I have like a small degree of scurvy from smoking so much marijuana for like a decade and smoking cigarettes, etc. So I'm trying to basically heal my body via vitamin C, and it's working pretty well so far. I have these moments of basically bliss and happiness, and I attribute that to my body healing and my brain healing especially. So one thing that I find interesting about YouTube is lately I've been seeing on my recommended feed a video of Nelk, and they call it a prank, basically eating meat in a vegan restaurant. And I just find that really depressing because the video has like 4 million views, and there's hardly any vegan videos on the internet that has 4 million views. So it makes me think that like the average person is almost just like all, I don't want to offend anybody out there, but almost like psychopathic because it just reminds me of the people that have interest in watching like beheadings and stuff like that on the internet and just really immoral things that happen that generate so much interest and publicity, I guess you could say. So I just wanted to say something about that. I think Nelk kind of crossed the line with that video, and I wish there were some vegan videos that could get up in the 4 millions or something like that. So this kind of leads me to a few of my other next points. I wanted to talk about Tom Brady because Tom Brady is probably he's considered the GOAT, one of the greatest of all time as far as quarterbacks go. And I'm aware that he eats a plant-based diet. I find it interesting. I just wanted to point out the fact that the NFL is still using leather footballs, which I find kind of strange. Like, why is it necessary to use leather footballs, especially when the top well-known athlete is basically promoting a vegan lifestyle? I think they should really switch the material of the football. Um, yeah, it's just completely ironic that they serve hot dogs and the most popular player is vegan. It just seems strange. I wish there were some changes that would occur. I just wanted to point out some of the stuff that I find interesting about that. I didn't watch the Super Bowl, by the way. I just wanted to comment on Tom Brady. And the reason I wanted to comment on Tom Brady is because I was wondering to myself, like, what would it actually take for the majority of the planet? Well, I guess the United States, because a lot of the other countries besides the United States are vegan and vegetarian, just because they don't have the means to afford meat. But specifically within the United States, I was wondering to myself, like, what would it take for the United States, for the majority of the Americans to become vegan? And in my mind, one of two things would have to happen. Basically, either the richest man in the world would have to be vegan, or a vegan would have to win a Mr. Olympia bodybuilding contest. I think those two things would basically be the turning point as far as because I feel like veganism right now is maybe like 3% of the United States, and I myself have been vegan and vegetarian off and on since 2010. 2010 was when I first watched the movie Earthlings, and it really took me off guard. I ended up smoking a ridiculous amount of marijuana in Venice, California, for like a year straight. It kind of messed me up. I just wasn't really prepared for it because obviously I've never known anything about slaughterhouses or how animals are treated because I was never informed. I mean, when you grow up, you're never informed. All you see is the commercials for the food. So, um, I was just I was just basically like almost in shock. So that kind of led me to a lot of drug abuse, not just marijuana, but also cocaine and um, eventually cigarettes. So the reason The reason I feel this way about society is because basically, I don't know if you ever heard of this. There's a theory called the madness of crowds, and I feel like the majority of Americans basically are in this kind of cluster common thinking where they basically mimic each other, um, almost like a herd behavior or something like that. Like there's a phrase in Wall Street terminology where they describe investors like lemmings, where they basically all do the exact same thing, and I feel like that's what's going on in America. It's just the madness of crowds, because it's pretty obvious that, I mean, if you consider the diseases of heart disease and cancer, which have affected me greatly. I mean, my mother died of ovarian cancer at the age of 46 when I was 16, and my father died of heart disease around the age of 50 when I was about 21. So I've been really affected by diseases, and I feel like these diseases are in direct relation to eating meat. So, um, yeah, I think something profound would have to happen. I mean, if the number one football player in the world being on a plant-based diet doesn't significantly change things, I don't know what else would, other than the fact that some kind of money would have to be involved to motivate people, because people are primarily motivated by financial reasons, or people would have to be motivated by some type of bodily image as far as their own appearance. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. Before my mother passed from ovarian cancer, I remember she saying to me that she felt bad for the cows. She worked in a cheese processing facility for a good part of her life, and one of the last things that she wanted to do before she passed away was actually look at cows. And I don't know if I was sitting in the car at the time. I don't know if she got out and said anything to him, or if she just wanted to spend time with him. But that's something that's stuck with me since I've been 16, and that's why I've always been drawn into veganism and vegetarianism. I've had people ask me in the past, why did you go vegetarian, or why did you go vegan? And a lot of times my main reply is the fact that I had my dog Kobe, and I got her when I was a child, and I had her for maybe 10 years, and I ended up having to give her away because I had a pretty bad drug addiction, and that's one of the major regrets of my life, is that I developed a significant enough drug addiction to where I couldn't even take care of my dog. I ended up getting her back, and she lived with me when I was living with a veterinarian for a while, but I ended up having to give her back again just because I was so deep in my addiction to cocaine at the time. So that's my main reason why I always have veganism in the back of my mind, is because of my dog Kobe. She was just like the greatest joy I could ever have in the world. She made me so happy. She was a very intelligent animal. She was always quiet. I remember when we first got her from the Humane Society in Danville, Illinois. My mother and I drove her back to, I think it was Champaign, Illinois, and when I first saw her at the animal shelter, she was barking at me and trying to get my attention. Just this beautiful blonde dog. I'll try to put a picture in the thumbnail if I can of her. But it was a really cool phenomenon because she got my attention. We ended up getting her from the Humane Society, adopting her. And when we got her home, she didn't bark or make any sounds for like 3 weeks straight. So I look back now and I'm just so happy because she seemed happy enough to not make a sound. And there's a great author that talks about this. I remember I was in prison and I was reading a book. I can't really remember the name of the author. It's one of the more prominent guys that writes about military stuff. But one of the great quotes he had in his book was that you can tell when you're at a point of like extreme ecstasy when you're just experiencing silence for long periods of time. So she was silent for like 3 weeks, and it just makes me happy looking back because I know she was really content. And that's pretty much it for this video. I'm gonna get going. Thanks.